Well, welcome everybody to an edition of TEW 2020, as it's time to continue the WWE 2013 save. Took a week off basically last week because, didn't have much time, had other stuff going on, but we're back on the road again, as it's the night after Extreme Rules, as we're now heading towards Payback, and we start off in front of 9,000 people or so in the Kemp Arena in Kansas City, Missouri, just down the road from St. Louis where the pay-per-view was, and we start out with a basic Extreme Rules highlights videos, focusing on the Shield, taking the belts from Bryan and Kane, and John Cena surviving the test of the Ryback, only for Randy Orton to prove that a Viper never changes scales as he attacks Orton, as he attacks Cena, and turns heel. So this gets a 70. They move forward. We have our Raw opening, 73, and then we hear voices in your head and they suck to me, but I'm a bum. As Randy Orton comes out. Okay, let me see here. Okay, so he just rolled bad a bad improvising. Oh well, not the end of the world. Anyway, Randy Orton comes out and basically says, why I attacked John Cena last night? Well, here's the reality. After the way I took him out, he should hand over that WWE Championship over back to me. Because I should be the face of the WWE. And deep down, John Cena knows it. Deep down, John Cena knows that if not for a few different things changing slightly, he'd be out wrestling in front of 100 people somewhere, and I'd be on Good Morning America. I'd be all over the world. Because I am the legacy professional wrestling. My father and my grandfather helped create this business. And Cena, I'm going to take you out of it if you don't hand me over that title tonight. Ooh, 73. So I guess there'll be a Cena Orton confrontation later. And then we have a quick backstage statement. Basically, Kaitlyn is very excited about finding her outer secret admirer tonight, and AJ Lee is excited for her, but as Kaitlyn walks away, AJ Lee has a devious smile on her face. As this gets a 61. Then we have a quick opening match as Layla defeats Tamina Snuka in 133 by submission. This gets a 37, Layla gets a 40, Tamina Snuka gets a 34. Just a straight head win for Layla, and post-match she celebrates to a 52. Again, need to have a women's match on the show. I mean, at least you should have one, and there we go for that. And just continues Layla's sort of like continuing role on the other card here. Then we go backstage, where basically Fandango and Summer Rae still want to dance, and Summer Rae informs Fandango that she talked to Vicky, and he's in a 6-man later tonight versus 3B teaming with Tons of Funk. And Fandango's something like, well, they're not my type of dancing, but I always love to show off my skills in front of the WWE Universe, or something like this. As this gets a 29, good stuff. And then we have backstage, Vicky Guerrero in her backstage office that weirdly looks the same as every week. Weird how that happens. As the Ryback enters, as he wants another shot, that Cena got lucky, he actually rolls. He doesn't care that Orton attacked him. He's the Ryback. He's the most dominating force in the world wrestling entertainment, and he needs to take out him. And Sheamus walks in and is like, well, bloody, or not bloody, whatever, something Irish. And Sheamus says, well, last night I actually took care of my business and won, and I'm going out to wrestle in a little bit, so right back. Why don't you watch me and show you how somebody actually does what he's saying he's going to do. Ooh. As this gets a 65, solid stuff. Then we have a match where Mark Henry kills Kurt Hawkins in 354 by pinfall, the world's strongest slam. This gets a 56, Henry gets a 68, Hawkins gets a 38, as Henry gets a little bit of heat back after losing last night to Sheamus. And then Henry hits him with another world's strongest slam to completely lay out the former Edgehead to a 57. Good stuff. Then we see John Cena arriving, which gets a pop. It's just a quick 1-minute segment. He's here, and that gets a 74. Then in a really good match, actually, considering everybody's overness here, and about that detracting crowd with Sapar Wrestling, Antonio Cesaro defeats Doshi Tatsu and found 45 by pinfall with neutralizer. Back and forth match, but Cesaro, is pretty dominant throughout and gets the victory. Cesaro gets a 61, Tatsu gets a 36. And then Cesaro cuts a promo on Kid, telling him, this could be your future actually involved in matches on Raw and winning them, as opposed to being stuck in the middle of nowhere doing nothing. As that gets a 42. And then we move forward, so you're getting that little angle you've been going with Cesaro, Kid born on the undercard where, Cesaro's trying to convince Kid to go his way. Then we have the big promo as we got the secret admirer. Everybody, so, Kaitlyn comes out. There's a big whole setup. AJ Lee comes out, and, first they tease that it's going to be Big E. But then some weird music hits. Not weird like it isn't scary, but weird isn't just sort of goofy. Out comes who NXT people know as Konnor, but who AJ Lee introduces as her big brother, Ryan Lee. And he's Kaitlyn's secret admirer because, he's been watching Raw week after week. And that, basically, he has a crush on Kaitlyn, so she talked to AJ, and AJ Lee helps set it up. Kaitlyn seems disappointed, but then gives Ryan Lee a hug, and Ryan's like, give me a chance, and I'll prove to you that I deserve your love. Mixed pop as AJ Lee has her, scary, devious, crazy smile in the background, and Big E just is looking like BE. But I guess Ryan Lee is Kaitlyn's secret admirer, and we'll see what happens with them as this gets a 69. Then we have a quick squash as Sheamus kills Brad Maddox in 206 with a bro kick. Maddox just walks basically right into it. Sheamus gets a 71, Brad Maddox gets a 26. And as Sheamus is celebrating, Ryback comes out of nowhere, attacks from behind, hits him with a shell shock, knocks him out. That gets a 69 as he yells at Sheamus. You want to see who's the big man? I'll show you who's the big man who deserves to rule WWE as he walks away, looking all angry and Ryback-like. Then a decent basic throwaway match, Cody Rhodes defeats R-Truth in 637 by pinfall at the Crossroads. Just a straight ahead win for Cody as he gets a 60. Match itself gets a 60, Cody gets a 58, R-Truth gets a 47. And then post-match afterwards, Cody celebrates to a 73. So, decent win for Cody as he's sort of not doing much on the mid-card at the moment, but, he'll get there eventually. Then, in sort of the quote-unquote blow-off, the stuff I've been doing on main event and everything else, and about a decent crowd, but to wrestling, fandango, and tons of fun, which is, I guess, Sweet Tea and Brodus Clay defeated 3MB, Drew McIntyre, Heath Slater, and Jinder Mahal in 5:39 when Fandango pinned Jinder Mahal with the main jam after some miscommunication for Slater. So back and forth, but Slater basically runs into Mahal. That allows Fandango to get the big win as this gets a 46. Mahal gets a 30, Heath Slater gets a 40, Drew gets a 46, Fandango gets a 42, Sweet Tea gets a 51, and Brodus Clay gets a 32. So 46 overall. And then two tons of fun and Fandango also break to a 45. Then we have a quick backstage promo as Brian and Kane, basically, say, tonight they're going to get their tag titles back, and it doesn't matter that the Shield have the numbers advantage. They have the whole crowd on their side, as crowd chants yes, and they're best friends. So this gets an 81. Then we have a really good promo. Yeah, see, I'm finally figuring this out a month in. Anyway, so Dolph Ziggler comes out, basically, he's already turned face after the ladder match, but he, sets it up, says, he, AJ and Big E are still his friends, but he's going to do things on his own from now on, because after he heard the cheers from the crowd, after winning the title from WWE at the Raw after WrestleMania, he realized he wants to show off to every single member of the WWE Universe and prove that he deserves to be World Heavyweight Champion. He's already proven a lot by winning the ladder match, but he's going to prove it every single night in this ring. Q Del who comes out and says, I never actually had my actual rematch. Yes, the ladder match or whatever, but I had that idiot Swagger involved. So Dolph, if you actually think you're deserving world champion, you'll face me one more time with the title on the line. There's a stare down, and after a moment, Dolph simply nods and walks away as he taps his belt. So this gets an 85, which is shockingly good. And yeah, let's just turn him babyface. There we go. And yeah, good stuff. And this will be officially announced on Smackdown, but just so I know where to do it. There we go. Then we have a quick backstage segment as basically Mark Henry is backstage and runs into Jinder Mahal, who's icing his back and everything, and Henry just goes, Jinder, you look like a friggin' monster, Jinder, but you're stuck with these morons who think you're friends, but look what I do out there in the ring. I wreck people. I leave them laying. And even when I lose, even Sheamus would admit, he was feeling a little bruised and battered in the morning. But you're losing to those dancing fools in Fandango? Come on, Jinder. You can be more than this. Talk to me, brother. And then Henry just walks away. As this gets a 51. And then in our semi-main event, which probably going to be better than the main event, unfortunately, but what happens here is about that great heat and good wrestling. The Shield of Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose defeated Team Hell No in 1438. When Reigns pins Daniel Bryan with the spear, this gets a 78, back and forth match, but in the end, Roman, things get, all confuddled. No interference this time, but Roman just comes in, nails Bryan with the spear, and get the 1, 2, 3. And this gets a 78. Bryan gets an 80. Kane gets a 64. Ambrose gets a 68. Roman gets a 68. And then, Bryan's out laying. He tries to make, it's a 3-on-1 on Kane. And Bryan tries to make the save, but he gets tossed away. And then Shield all bring Kane up to the ramp area and destroy him with a triple powerbomb off the stage into the sparks and tables and everything else. That gets a 71. As it looks like Shield have made the definitive statement, they are on top of Raw, the Raw Tag Team division, and nobody can stop them, not even Team Hell No. As this gets a 71, and we move forward to our main event, which, okay, actually just as good. As in about that great heat and good wrestling, Randy Orton defeated Kofi Kingston in 1422 by pinfall with an RKO. This gets a 78 back and forth match, but just straightforward win for Orton as he gets a 78, Kofi gets a 58. Orton's turned heel, but no cheating here. So he's just a little bit better and gets a pinfall victory. As Orton, is going to go to KO Kofi with the punt, but that was a bad version of Cena's song. Cena comes out, and there's a stare down as we go back. As basically Kofi rolls out as this gets a 69, and then we have the main event segment, which gets a 88. Okay, so basically, Orton, Cena says, I've proven I'm the better man, Orton, over and over again. Every single day when I do the hustle or in the loyalty and respect of these fans, and you think you can just backdoor your way into taking this away from me? Well, you've got another thing coming, man. I'll give you a shot at the title. But you can never be the man here in the WWE until you actually take me out. And I'm never going to give up. I'm never going to let you do that. Orton says, we'll just have to see about that. So that's set up for Payback. As it's Randy Orton versus John Cena. Dun, dun, dun. See, that time I did it. Let me finish the show, which gets 81. Okay. Not our best show ever, but not a terrible show either. I think that's good enough. Yeah, I mean there is still one, but they're getting an 85, I think. But that's fine. I already had a backup choice as far as contracts go, as far as TV contracts go, so that'll be fine. Okay. So Randy Orton thinks. I mean, yes, she does, but that's not why she's been hired, Randy. Okay. At least nobody's been unhappy about that. So I'll be back in. Oh yeah, just for some storylines that just got redo. So WMD's out of 46, which is unfortunate, but Sheet first of all knows it's still at 73. Let's see here. Dancing Fools is at 64 still. Right back Sheamus at a 65. American Values is now at a 59, which is better because that insanity to have a ladder match be no good is interesting. And Cena Orton's already at a 78, and Serena Myers actually at a 64, which is interesting. And then we got this feud, which hasn't quite started yet. But I'll be back in just a second with SmackDown. Alright, and everybody, welcome to SmackDown, which is... Oops, I totally forgot to change where it should be in reality. Oh well, I'll just pretend this is where it actually was in 2013. My bad. Anyway, we start out with basically, the Rio coming out, saying he's... No, what starts with Booker T, who is SmackDown General Manager, calling Alberto Del Rio out. he basically, means yes, it is true that Dolph Ziggler says, he nodded and agreed to the rematch for Del Rio at Payback, but Booker is in charge of SmackDown, and he thinks Alberto still has to earn his title shot. Del Rio, agrees to it, but says, Booker's going to rule the day. We got in the way of Alberto Del Rio regaining his destiny. This gets a 69 as we set up Del Rio, facing somebody later tonight in the main event of SmackDown for the title shot. And one other quick note, I've changed SmackDown's length to 90 minutes just basically for my own sanity. Because, booking like 115 minutes of Raw and then 120 minutes of SmackDown when the SmackDown roster is, shall we say, limited was really a thing if I'm booking realistically. Because let's be honest, Cena and other top guys are not showing up on here. So anyway, we move forward as we're backstage where AJ is with her brother, quote unquote, brother Ryan Lee and Big E. As Ryan is still acting kind of like a doofus, and Cena says, where's Kaitlyn? And she says, Kaitlyn's not here tonight, but I wanted to test you guys out in the ring. So you and Big E need to team up tonight and prove to Kaitlyn, who's going to be watching on TV, that she, you deserve her. Ryan Lee walks away, getting all hyped up, and Big E sort of like looks over and Lee says, like, are you really sure about this? Like, this seems like a long way to go just to get upset at, get back at somebody just because of something silly that AJ Lee says, just sort of like gets her second look and says, Big, Langston, remember your place. And Big E just puts in his like, no judgment. I'm just a thought. And then he walks away as this gets a 65. And then in a tag team match, the primetime players of Darren Young and Titus O'Neil get a win over Justin Gabriel and Tyson Kidd. In a 21-1, Darren Young pinned Tyson Kidd with a gut check. This gets a 54. And the unders put over the fact that primetime players look like a more solid, and more well-oiled team than Gabriel and Kidd, even though Gabriel and Kidd may have more individual skill. As Tyson gets a 49, Justin Gabriel gets a 46. Tyson O'Neil gets a 46, but Darren Young gets a 50. And big win for the primetime players as Gabriel and Kidd slightly argue after the match as, Gabriel points out, Kid points out Gabriel was late on a tag, but Gabriel points out that O'Neil was going after him, and they seem unhappy as this gets a 34. Then we move forward. Will Drew, walks backstage and, says, you need to give me an answer on who my opponent is so I can get ready. And Booker says, Sucka, you're going to be facing a former undisputed champion tonight. And if you beat him, you deserve the shot. And that match is going to be against Chris Jericho. Pop 66 as we move forward. As in a extremely short match, Natalia Neidhart defeats Alicia Fox in 329 by submission. This gets a 53. Natty gets a 58. Alicia Fox gets a 56. And then Natty celebrates to a 51. As again, currently though, Divas Championship is currently involved in the whole Kaitlyn AG Lee stuff, so just got to give the undercard some wins to build them up. And then in a bout that didn't have much heat and trouble wrestling, the Usos defeat Biggie Langston and Ryan Lee and win 402, and Jey Uso pins Ryan Lee with a double super kick. This gets a 37. Ryan Lee gets a 33, Big E gets a 41, Jimmy gets a 46, Jay gets a 45. And Usos get the big win over Big E and Ryan Lee as they have their issues teaming up. And post-match, AJ is upset with Ryan and says, how are you going to convince Kaitlyn you deserve her when you lose to them? And this gets to 52, again, continuing furthering this little angle we've got. And then afterwards, we get a quick thing where Ray Bear is backstage. He says, I knocked The Miz out last week on SmackDown before Extreme Rules. Isn't that enough to give me a match tonight? And Booker T says, Sucka, that was very impressive, but I don't got time for you tonight, but next week in a tag team match is going to be Wade Barrett and let's see here, who was I trying to pull up? Yeah, Wade Barrett and the Ryback. Not take it on Famous and coming back from his off from his injury, The Miz. There you go. Barrett simply nods at it and says, "Fine, I'll show you, even with Sheamus, even against Sheamus and The Miz, that I deserve more." And Barrett walks away. 65, solid stuff. And then, Raw Rebound featuring Randy Orton, being Randy Orton, gets a 73. And then in about that decent through crowd with subpar wrestling, Evan Bourne gets the big win over Ted DiBiase Jr. in 9:49 by pinfall with an airborne. This gets a 47. Bourne gets a 50. DiBiase gets a 44. And post-match, Bourne celebrates to a 50. So fun stuff. Just a straight-head win to give Bourne some momentum. And then we move forward as we get a quick Sheamus promo saying it doesn't matter who he faces in the ring, they'll all face a brutal kick as he rises back up to the top of the WWE universe one way or the other, with the backing of the fans. Solid babyface promo, as he even mentions, right back, you got the best of me last week, but when we're faced up man to man, there's no way you can take me on. 70 solid promo. Then Chris Jericho cuts a quick promo, basically in ring saying, it's been a long time, since he's had a chance at the World Heavyweight Championship, and he's not going to waste it tonight. So get Del Rio out here, and I'm going to prove him, that Chris Jericho still is the best in the world. As this gets an 83, that's time for our actual match, which gets in 60. Ooh, okay. Okay, I guess could be worse. Anyway, in a bout to have fantastic heat and good wrestling, Alberto Del Rio defeats Chris Jericho in 1948 by pinfall. It says after Ricardo interfered, but that doesn't happen. What happens is basically it's a back and forth clean match, solid match, but in the end, Del Rio actually hits a low blow on Jericho. Well, not really like a low blow, but hits the ropes, so he falls off the top. Jericho, crouches himself. Del Rio hits a quick sort of roll up move, puts a foot on the ropes, and gets the pinfall victory over Jericho. As this gets a 69, as Del Rio gets a 67, Jericho gets a 76. And then post-match we have Del Rio celebrating, but Ziggler comes out and faces off with them, as this gets a 72. And overall, the show itself gets a 70. Okay, good stuff. And we'll see, UK is going to be unhappy again because, UK is going to be unhappy again because they have an 80 for this show, but it's Smackdown 2013. It is not the A show, unfortunately. So, these guys are all unhappy, but, there's not much I can do here. Regardless, let's see, was there anything else of note? Let's see here. We got storyline. So let's just go over those real quick. So we got the Gabriel Bourne Cesaro is at a 45. We got Secret of Meyer at a 64. Orton Cena at a 78. American Values, which is Del Rio and Dolph at a 65. Sheamus and Ryback at a 65. We had, let's see here. This is not start. Shield versus Shield. Shield versus Team Hell No is at a 73 still. And WMD is at a 46. So fun stuff. I think this is it's all solid stuff. Again, even after a month, I'm still figuring things out. Including stuff like how the hell to book SmackDown in a way that's realistic, but also actually get some decent ratings. I don't know. Regardless, I hope you enjoyed this. If you have, go ahead and give it a like. Comment below what you're enjoying and not enjoying, and subscribe to your channel for lots of fun TEW 2020 content, including this series, my WCW 1994 series, which is heading towards Slamboree and Great American Bash. I did long-running WCW 2001 series, now 2004, and heading towards Wrestle War, and my MLW 2006 series, which will basically be starting 2006 with the next video. But that's it for now, so talk to you later, and adios. Have a good one.